Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and as the year comes to a close, it's time for yet another Steam Winter Sale. I'm here once again to help you find the truly worthwhile deals, and to grab games that won't just sit in your library collecting dust after you've paid for them. As always, I focus on strategic and tactical games, ranging from real-time strategy to Forex to colony management, automation, and much more. And if you've got any recommendations of your own, please don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below. I'll release another video later this week for more budget-conscious buying, so don't hesitate to subscribe to get a notification about that video when it comes out. But for now, with no more time to waste and with timestamps down below, let's begin. Nordhold is currently just about $15, and though I don't often fall in love with tower defense games, this one stands out in all the right ways and I think is well worth checking out. What seems like a fairly simple affair at first very quickly reveals itself to be quite multifaceted as you're asked, as is common in the genre, to defend a specific location against wave after wave of enemy, building literal towers to help do so. The sort of Viking theme puts us in the realm of medieval fantasy, introducing a few layers of magic and folklore on top of the familiar. Starting with a few resources on hand, you'll need to build buildings that either produce said resources, provide workers to operate said buildings, or otherwise improve your efficiency in various ways, adding to your defensive and offensive capabilities. These very same resources are also the ones used to build the aforementioned towers, with multiple different kinds of towers able to attack incoming enemies in different ways, and with each subsequent tower of the same type being more and more expensive to build. Regular arrow towers fire away at single targets, lightning towers shoot electrical bolts that can jump between a few targets, volcano towers shoot at great range and, with the right upgrades, set the enemy's path alight to cause damage over time through fire, so on and so forth. And there are countless upgrades to be made to improve these towers and their capabilities in various ways specific to them. There are also the generic upgrades you can make, for example, to damage output, range, and things like that, but through the collection of banners that come up every few waves, you're able to get more specific upgrades. For example, the lightning tower being able to jump more targets, or, again as mentioned, the volcano tower able to set the floor on fire. What's more, the meandering enemy paths often lead to interesting layouts for your defenses and unexpected outcomes, and the branching paths that enemies take can add another layer of complexity to your thought process too. Finding the perfect overlapping attack radius between towers is a special kind of joy. There's a lot more to the game than just this, of course. You've got a meta progression layer that unlocks more perks and upgrades and buildings for future runs. There are hero characters that can be upgraded over time to cast powerful spells, and every so often you'll get additional boons and buffs to help your cause, but all that is added onto a very simple but strong foundation, making for a game that I find myself drawn to over and over again for a quick 60 to 90 minute play session from time to time. I can definitely recommend Nordhold, especially at this price point. WARNO is hands down one of my favorite modern warfare RTS games at the moment, and though some games were making a play for its crown this year, WARNO remains the champ, at least for now. Play in an alternate history where the Cold War turns hot, and lead armies featuring units from the US, the UK, France, Belgium, West and East Germany, and the Soviet Union, bringing everything from recon to infantry to air, artillery, and armor to bear. Whether you're playing the turn-based grand campaigns that ask you to strategize the movement of troops at a grander scale, or focusing on the one-off skirmishes against the AI or in multiplayer, the battlefields you engage on are absolutely massive, with up to 10v10 skirmishes, with countless units rushing from town to town, seeking cover in woodlands and urban areas, and rushing past open fields while under fire. The level of detail is what really makes WARNO stand out though, with each unit featuring different weapons for different purposes, with vehicles having different levels of armor for different sides, and with wildly different ranges of weapons to take into consideration when you see what you're up against compared to what you're bringing. And if you're even remotely into modern military tech and tactics, this is the closest you'll get to thinking about some of the finer details that most games ignore for simplicity's sake. Run seed operations, flip radar guidance off and on, switch between ammo types depending on what your troops are shooting at, think about stealth capabilities, establish recon with good line of sight, set up a supply chain that ensures your troops don't run out of ammo in the middle of a firefight. The game is very micro-intensive, though it doesn't abandon the need for macro-level thinking and strategizing on the battlefield either. It must be said though, that WARNO is extremely challenging to learn, but equally satisfying when you start to figure it out. Whether that's on the real-time tactical battlefield, the strategic army general map mode, or in the designing of decks that represent the collection of units available to you when you engage in said skirmishes. If you're looking for a good RTS to sink countless hours into just learning it, look no further than WARNO. Darkest Dungeon 2 is over half off right now, and I can definitely recommend picking it up, especially with the addition of the Kingdoms game mode for free earlier this year. And if you've never played the first game, I recommend picking up both, since they are both quite phenomenal in different ways. The most basic aspect of Darkest Dungeon 2, regardless of which game mode you play, has you leading a group of, let's call them heroes, each with their own abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, facing off against all manner of often eldritch horrors, a real creative showcase of monstrosities, visually, thematically, and mechanically speaking. Combat, though simple in concept, is extremely intense and unforgiving, pitting up to 4 individuals on either side against each other at any given time, asking you to consider positioning on both sides of the battlefield, various status effects and how they play off of each other, unique unit abilities, and decisions made off the battlefield as well. Who's carrying what equipment, who's resistant to what kind of influence, is anybody close to having a mental breakdown, and what's the relationship between two characters like, so on and so forth. The enemy variety, and heck even the hero variety, is absolutely fantastic, with all sorts of cool things to be blown away and challenged by. If you like to earn your wins, Darkest Dungeon 2 definitely gives you that satisfaction. As for what happens between battles, that's significantly different between the two game modes. One has you traversing a world in flames, navigating a map of branching paths to engage in battles as you go from the safety of one inn to the safety of the next, culminating in reliably overwhelming boss battles. The other has you defending a realm under constant siege, going from location to location, assigning heroes to protect what they can, while also attempting to thwart the growing evil with a quest line that's on a time limit, and alongside all that, there are multiple other mysteries to solve. I could talk for hours about what makes Darkest Dungeon 2 so special, and this is coming from somebody who was a little disappointed in the game at launch. Now though, I can highly recommend checking it out, especially on sale, especially with the additional game mode now in there from earlier this year. Captain of Industry is just about $25 and it's worth every penny at full price, so it's easy for me to recommend over and over again on sale. Indeed, this isn't the first time I'm recommending this gem of a factory automation game that's set in the modern era, starting you off stranded on a remote island and getting you to build some of the most intricate and comprehensive production chains I've ever seen in a video game, with networks of conveyor belts and pipes and vehicles moving across multiple levels and traversing across immense distances. A recent update to the game gave players the chance to go into space and bring down asteroids to mine alongside additional methods of transportation, namely trains and everything they come with. Update 4 introduces amphibious vehicles, bridges, and even more trains, so the devs haven't stopped cooking up awesome free updates to add to this already densely packed game. Every little detail in Captain of Industry is absolutely mind-boggling, like how terraforming requires you to actually use excavated soil to do so, or vice versa. Terraforming results in a lot of excavated soil for you to have to deal with. And terraforming is a key part of the game, allowing you to significantly change the very structure of the island upon which you're operating, clearing out entire mountains, or even reclaiming land by strategically dumping trash generated by your growing population. An immense tech tree, a huge variety of production pursuits, and the unique pleasure of hooking things up just right after optimizing and optimizing over and over again, Captain of Industry really checks all the boxes you'd want from a game in the genre and stands out from the growing crowd in great fashion. If you're even remotely interested in the genre, but are looking for something more grounded, you should definitely pick this one up. Drill Core is currently just about $15 and honestly feels like a bit of a buried gem that deserves some more attention. A very simple premise has you taking on contracts to go from planet to planet, extracting resources for the good of your mining corporation overlords while fending off the local wildlife, asking you to reach a certain depth with your mining platform on each contract. You start each contract with a small group of workers, miners who dig blocks in the search of resources, carriers who bring dug up resources back to the mining platform, and guards that gun down dangerous enemies. During the day, you pick blocks to dig and push back the fog of war as you do so, navigating around undiggable or otherwise dangerous blocks, spending the dug up resources to improve your performance and likelihood of survival, if not success. Construct towers to defend your platform during nightly attacks, recruit additional workers to accelerate your work, or build buildings that allow you to research upgrades, further defend your platform, or otherwise give access to special abilities. But your miners aren't able to clear the paths entirely for your platform itself to go deeper. Instead, they need to seek out the rare coal resource, gathering enough to power the platform's own drills to take it down by a level. rinse and repeat until you get to the desired depth, or push further for more rewards if you'd like to test your abilities. Whether you succeed or fail, a contract will grant you a special set of resources that you can then spend in the meta layer on upgrades and unlocks ranging from new techs to new species of miners to new types of commands for your various units to pursue, as well as upgrades to your mining platforms to start future runs with specific benefits too. There's layer upon layer on top of the basic premise here, but the simple handful of mechanics come together to create a very fun experience that you can dive in and out of as time permits, making for an easy game to pick up and play, but a hard one to master. At this price point especially, I think Drill Core is definitely worth checking out. Schedule 1 is already on a massive discount considering it released just earlier this year and sold like crack, and if you haven't given it a try, I can highly recommend picking it up. I first got the game to see what the hype was about shortly after it released, expecting it to be this silly meme-y game that I'd spend a couple minutes in and then go, okay, whatever, it's funny, I guess. Before I knew it, I'd sunk over 40 hours running my little drug empire alongside my wife in co-op, dodging cops, inventing new strains by mixing odd ingredients, and organizing a massive automated production line while managing my network of dealers and customers. I was very surprised by the level of management in what I thought was going to be a silly meme game, and if that was your hesitation as well, I'm here to help you set it aside. The suitably paper-thin plot sees you in a small city, starting your operation from a small motel room and manually purchasing pots, soil, and seeds, manually growing and harvesting and packaging and running around selling. Eventually, you can hire local dealers and keep them supplied, assigning the right customers to them to ensure they're getting the job done, but not taking too much of a cut from your most high-value customers. And then further still, you'll be buying and organizing entire barnyards for your operation, buying brick presses, mixers, packaging stations, chemical labs, and much more, laying them out for optimal efficiency, hiring different types of employees to then manage the various stages of the craft, telling them what to do to automate, so to speak, parts of your operation. It really is a lot more than first meets the eye, and the dev has made some huge updates since launch, expanding the play area, adding in rival cartels, and even taking votes on which kinds of products to add in next. Again, I never thought I'd be recommending Schedule 1 when I first saw it, but it clicked instantly, and I can easily recommend picking it up. Foundation is out in 1.0 as of earlier this year, and you'll have heard me recommend this game throughout its early access period over and over again, and that endorsement continues now, nearly 12 months after that 1.0 launch. There are many medieval city builders out there, but I think few are as charming as Foundation, and I think none of them push for organic city planning quite like this does. In Foundation, you're able to place zones for your people to build in, and it's only for a few specific buildings that you have the power of determining exact placement. Meanwhile, monuments like castles and cathedrals will allow you to custom design them from the ground up using various modular blocks, adapting intelligently to whatever design you make. What's more, in Foundation, you can't actually place any paths or walkways either, instead having to watch as your citizens carve out their own paths by simply walking on the grass with repeated traversal over an area, turning it into a path, much like desire lines in real life. I find this function just absolutely fascinating to see in action, and it truly leads to some very organic layouts, especially if you actually abide by your citizens' desired paths that take them from point to point fastest. Beyond the city planning elements are all the usual good stuff. A huge number of products to manufacture, some decently complex production chains, a great visual style, and even a quest system that sees you pursuing the satisfaction of 3 distinct factions in order to secure additional boons and opportunities. Whether you're plopping down a bakery or a barracks or meticulously planning the grandest cathedral the world has ever seen, Foundation makes it all feel very special, and I highly recommend picking it up. Sea Power Naval Combat in the Missile Age is definitely a game for a very specific type of person, and if you are that type of person, nothing else comes even close. Pitting NATO forces against the Warsaw Pact, Sea Power brings us one of the most impressive and in-depth simulations of naval warfare, bringing not just the ships of the era in great detail, but the submarines and aircraft that get involved in such circumstances too. All kinds of different munitions are modeled, as are electronic warfare modules and tactics, navigation systems, and much more. The user interface is suitably intimidating in some ways, paired with excellent 3D visuals of the action and detailed in-game references, ensuring that you're always fully aware of the strengths and weaknesses of every tool at your disposal, though you will occasionally need to look up what a specific technical term means from time to time, because this game pulls absolutely no punches. Sea Power is not an easy game, even after you've played through its tutorials, and its scenarios are all quite complex and involved, throwing you right into the deep end from the start. But that makes success, rare as it might be, all the more satisfying. Every ship sunk and every soul saved just feels so much more satisfying than if the game was overly simplified. What's more, mod support has allowed for the creation of fan-made missions, meaning there's a lot more to do once you've exhausted what the game has to offer, and the roadmap for 2026's new additions look fantastic too, with additional factions and improvements to the sometimes less than stellar AI. Despite a couple of issues here and there, I think Sea Power is a great time, but again, it is very much not for the faint of heart when it comes to simulation, so make sure to watch a few YouTube videos or read through the guides on the store page before diving in for yourself. Personally speaking, I think it's worth every penny. Before my last two recommendations, both published by Hooded Horse, I just want to quickly remind you that outside of the channel, I am affiliated with Hooded Horse. While they don't have any say on what I cover on the channel, I do like to mention this anytime I'm going to talk about one of their games, just for the sake of transparency. You can learn more about the affiliation at the video linked in the description below, but as always, the reason I do any work with them is because they're publishing all of my favorite games in the first place, so it should be no surprise seeing their games on the channel from time to time. With that said, first up, Whiskerwood is currently available for just about $20, and if you're a fan of colony management, city building, resource management, and automation games, this really is quite the perfect blend of all those genres. You play as a colony of mice sent off by a bunch of imperial fat cats to colonize a distant archipelago. Your job is to mine these islands out for critical resources and send them back to the cat's empire for whatever purpose it might serve. The antagonistic relationship creates a solid bedrock that drives the game forward. Pretty much everything you do is in service of these cats, but each of these actions adds on to the tax you owe them, and these taxes add up quickly, needing to be paid off with valuable resources, each worth a different amount based on what the cat overlords care more or less for. But as you're managing the demands of your overlords, you also need to keep your colonists happy, fed, clean, and warm, especially during the harsh winters. The vertical building aspect plays a huge role in the game, as you can stack any building on top of any other building, and mining deep into the mountains will reveal additional resources while also allowing you to take advantage of some very interesting simulations, like how it's easier to heat an enclosed underground space compared to the open air in the dead of winter, or how water can be pumped to reclaim land and join islands together. But as time goes on, you'll need to industrialize and modernize to keep up with the demands of mouse and cat alike, introducing conveyor belts, slides, elevators, and other mechanisms that make the traversal of goods and mice alike faster and faster. I could talk at great length about what makes this a fascinating and unique colony management game, from how research works to how many different things are being simulated, but then I'd run out of time to mention things like how the devs have been dropping patches at an insane rate, and how mod support is already integrated into the game with some powerful tools already available for those interested in taking it for a spin. There's all kinds of fresh ideas in Whiskerwood, and they're all built on an exceptionally solid foundation of familiar genre mechanics too. This is super easy for me to recommend as a game that you'll sink countless hours into. Whiskerwood is a must-have. Endless Legend 2 continues to get massive updates since its release just a few months ago. One of the biggest recently was the addition of multiplayer. Endless Legend 2, much like its predecessor, is a fantasy 4X game set in the Endless universe, and it features the typical strengths of Amplitude Studios. Fresh ideas brought to a genre that is often stagnating, and extremely asymmetrical faction design to give unique playstyles and challenges with each game. Though there are references to the first game and other games in the universe, you can of course pick this up without having played those and dive into an oceanic planet where every so often the water recedes and reveals new lands. In a 4X game, exploration and expansion are two of the 4 key pillars, and you can see how these receding waters impact both of those heavily, opening up new lands to lay claim to, but also to worry about as once secure flanks potentially become exposed. Each of the factions is also focused on different aspects of the game. Some are pure warmongers, consuming the planet to further their goals, while others are more defensive, others are focused on science, others on diplomacy, so on and so forth. Narrative quests drive each of the factions forward as they pursue unique goals of their own, and as they bump into the minor factions of the planet, more side quests will drag you into conflicts and situations to gain access to the benefits of a pacified minor faction. Or perhaps you'll opt to crush them under your boot instead. From empire management to RPG elements, there are a lot of moving parts in Endless Legend 2, and they're all well worth checking out, especially with the game on sale. But there you have it, folks, some great games at great prices that are all well worth picking up during the winter sale. If you found something you liked, consider hitting the like button and letting me know down below. And if you have recommendations of your own, again, don't hesitate to share them in the comments. I'll release another video soon that focuses on even cheaper price points, and I'll link it on screen here when it's out, as well as in the pinned comment below. Don't hesitate to subscribe for more strategy gaming content, and otherwise, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly, and of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.